Karen Banfield. Saying goodbye. Saying goodbye, Karen Banfield.
We all have to say goodbye to many people during our lives. But sometimes there is one goodbye, one memory that we can never forget. Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters. I didn't see much of my grandmother as an adult because I lived on the West Coast and she lived on the East. But when she was 96 years of age, I went to see her. She lived above my aunt and uncle's farmhouse. She sat in front of a window and looked out into a vast expanse of cornfields. And she sat in a wooden rocking chair, and she rocked back and forth and back and forth, and she said, "Karen, please pray that I die. My husband is gone. My friends are gone. My quality of life is gone. I need you to pray that I die." I may have nodded my head, but I know I never said a prayer like that, because at that age, I didn't know how. The next time I saw my grandmother, she was 102 years old. She was still living in the same place, but her life had been diminished to a single room, and my father was tending her. And he said, "Well, you can go in if you want to, but she won't hear you. She's not talking. She's just laying in bed, waiting to die." And I said, yes, I want to see her. So I pushed against the wooden door, and I felt the familiar resistance of the glass knob as I let myself in. And I was so aware of leaving my reality and entering the nothingness of hers. The room was dimly lit. To my left, I could see her bureau. There were aprons, a jewelry box, and I don't know if you remember these wonderful lace hankies that women used to use. How anyone ever blew their nose in these wonderful works of art, I can't imagine. And my grandmother used to fold them and iron them in perfect little squares, and they were sitting on her bureau, gathering dust. I went to the window and I pulled back the drapes, and then I went around by her bed, and I began to talk with her. And it was as my father said. She couldn't hear a word I was saying. But I had brought my flute. So I unsnapped the case, I assembled the flute. I felt the familiar cold of the metal against my lips as I blew a long, low note. And as I did, she started like this. And I went, yes, I have her. Then, after I played my first song, she turned towards me, and she got this big smile on her face. And I reached out and I traced that smile with my finger so that she would know that I could see her joy. And then I played and I played and I played until my fingers really couldn't play anymore. And so I disassembled the flute, snapped the case shut, and as I did, she spoke to me for the very first time. She said, "Karen, don't go." And I thought, ooh, what am I going to do? I can't play anymore, and she doesn't hear me when I speak. So then I got an idea. And I went around the bed and I put my flute on the bureau. I pulled back the covers and I got in bed with her. And I held her really, really close. And she was so thin and so fragile. She was really a skeleton in a nightdress. And I put my mouth about this far from her ear, and I began to sing her favorite song, which at that time was A Bicycle Built for Two. And after the first verse, she surprised me, and she began to sing with me. cannot describe to you the quality of her voice, because she had clearly left her body and was living in another dimension. But she decided to celebrate her love of life and her love of music one more time. So she pulled her spirit back. She wrapped it around her like a long-lost blanket. And then I sang every song that I knew, that she knew. And then I just started singing Christmas carols because I didn't know what else to do. And when I thought she was asleep, I got my flute and I went out, and I was in the living room talking to my father. And then my father said, "Karen, do you hear that?" And I went, "Hear what?" He said, "Come here." He took me back over by her door, and he said, "She is in there singing all by herself. I have never heard her do that." This is the last song I ever heard her sing, and I would like to sing it for you today. But I would like you to imagine, if you will, that it's not my voice you're hearing, but the voice of a woman who is 102 years old. If you would close your eyes and imagine this woman. From this valley, they say, you are going. I will miss your bright eyes and sweet smile, for they say you are taking the sunshine that brightened my path for a while. Sometimes there is one goodbye, there is one memory that we can never forget. Mr. Tucker.